A boy named Noah introduces himself. His story is not about legendary heroes or thrilling adventures. Instead, it follows the ordinary life of the youngest son in a family surrounded by his 5 older sisters. In the courtyard of a grand castle, Noah trains with a sword under careful supervision. As the youngest child among 5 older sisters, he struggles to keep up, gripping the blade tightly while practicing each movement with determination. Noah dashes forward and clashes blades with one of his sisters. Their swords collide with a sharp clang as they push against each other. Despite his effort, she remains calm and composed, while Noah struggles to hold his ground against her superior strength and skill. Noah attempts a series of quick strikes, pushing forward with determination. His sister easily deflects every blow and counters with a swift, powerful swing that sends him stumbling back. As she follows through with her movement, she suddenly bumps into something behind her and pauses in surprise. Seizing the opening, Noah swings his sword in a wide arc and charges forward with confidence. However, his sister reacts instantly, reading his movement with ease. With a swift counter, she knocks him away, dismissing his attack as far too slow. Noah rushes in for another attack, but his sister counters effortlessly and knocks him down once more. Watching the match, the instructor notes that it is already Noah's 105th loss in a row. Standing over him, the second daughter of the family, Ryza, the strongest swords fighter, asks how long he has been training his swordplay, while Noah struggles to recover after being defeated again with a single hit. Ryza confronts Noah after the match, reminding him that she has personally trained him for 3 years. Frustrated by his lack of progress, she bluntly tells him that his talent seems non-existent and demands to know why he remains so weak. When Noah insists he is trying his best, she cuts him off harshly, declaring that excuses mean nothing and scolding him for talking back, criticizing his weak will and lack of spirit. Noah bursts out in frustration, shouting that simply being told to have more spirit does not help him understand how to improve. Ryza, irritated by his complaints, reminds him that he is still under her guidance and should focus on holding the sword instead of arguing. Losing patience, she turns away and declares that someone as talentless as him was never suited for the sword in the first place, telling him to admit defeat and give up. After the argument, Noah is left discouraged. Suddenly, his 4th sister appears and lightly pokes his bruised cheek, teasing him for being unable to do anything properly. She is Yahello, the 4th daughter of the family and a tremendously powerful wizard. Noticing Ryza has finally told him to give up, she casually suggests that instead of pursuing swordplay, he should try becoming a sorcerer instead. Yahello quickly dismisses the idea that Noah can simply choose a new path. Laughing, she reminds him that he is hopelessly inept and incapable of giving a proper answer to anything. As he begins to walk away in silence, she bluntly tells him the harsh truth. The only reason he is even allowed to remain in the family is because of the kindness of his older sisters. Normally, someone like him, just a child their father took in, would never have been accepted into the family at all. Yahello continues to mock Noah, saying she will make sure her words reach him at his core. Remaining calm, Noah listens in silence. After a moment, he finally responds with firm resolve, declaring that he is leaving the house. Yahello is caught off guard by Noah's sudden declaration. As he calmly walks away, he explains that he is packing his bags and leaving that very day. She hurriedly follows him through the halls, trying to convince herself he must be joking. Realizing he is serious, Noah simply asks her to inform Ryza for him, knowing his older sister would likely try to stop him if she found out. Noah reveals his plan to leave and become an adventurer. Yahello is shocked, warning him that adventuring is dangerous work, fighting monsters and escorting people through perilous places, and that surviving outside the family home will not be easy. Ignoring her concerns, Noah calmly gathers his belongings, confident that the guild is always recruiting and insisting that he will be just fine. Noah explains that he plans to accept only jobs suited to his level, avoiding dangerous tasks like fighting monsters. He believes adventurers help solve problems that knights or the army cannot handle and assist people in many different ways. To him, it seems like a respectable profession, leaving Yahello watching him in stunned silence. Yahello tries to stop Noah, suggesting they discuss the matter with the rest of the family before making such a decision. Noah refuses immediately, insisting that he has already made up his mind and will leave regardless. Yahello then asks why he is so determined to go. But before the conversation can continue, the eldest sister, Alia, the great merchant and owner of the Tortoise company, appears, known for her ability to win any argument. Yahello tries to guess Noah's real reason for leaving, accusing him of wanting to meet a girlfriend outside the house. Noah immediately rejects the idea, pointing out that he has always gone out together with his sisters and never had the chance to meet anyone on his own. Even so, Yahello jokingly insists he might secretly be exchanging letters with someone, continuing to tease him as they walk. Standing before the massive gates of the estate, Noah firmly declares once more that he is leaving the house. As he pushes the doors open, he admits that if he were to remain there forever, he would eventually become nothing more than a useless burden who could accomplish nothing. With a final shout, Noah steps through the gates of the estate, leaving the mansion behind. Outside, he looks out at the vast world ahead of him and claps his hands with renewed determination, ready to begin his new life beyond the family home. Yahello tries one last time to stop him, warning that if he stays, he can safely grow stronger and wiser within the protection of the family. She reminds him that the world outside is dangerous and full of things that could kill him. Noah calmly acknowledges the risk and answers without hesitation. Thanking his sister Ciel for taking care of him until now, he says his farewell and walks away, determined to follow his own path. Noah turns back with a bright smile and announces that he is off. As he walks away from the estate, the castle grows distant behind him, while his sister remains standing silently, watching him leave. As Noah walks away from the castle, his sister suddenly breaks down in tears and desperately calls out to him. Overcome with emotion, she begs him to come back and promises she will be kinder from now on. But Noah continues forward, carrying his belongings and leaving the estate behind. With renewed determination, Noah sets his sights on the border city of Lawua. Once known as the inept youngest child among 5 extraordinary sisters, he begins his journey into the wider world. This is the story of Noah and the remarkable family he left behind, an ordinary story that is only just beginning. After a long journey, Noah finally reaches his destination and celebrates with excitement. The world is divided between 2 sides, the western lands ruled by demons and the eastern continent inhabited by humans. Between them lies the border city, an important place where adventurers gather, standing at the edge of both worlds. Spread across the frontier between 2 worlds stands the massive city of Lawua. Surrounded by towering walls and a wide river, the bustling border city serves as the gateway between the human continent and the demon lands, a gathering place for countless adventurers seeking fortune beyond its gates. After traveling for nearly a week, Noah arrives near the border city, but cannot fully relax yet. Confident that his sisters will have trouble finding him after such a long journey, he prepares to continue on. At that moment, the merchant Ort calls out to him, announcing that the carriage is ready to depart again. Realizing he is being addressed, Noah quickly responds. At the carriage stop in Lawua, Noah reflects that even though he traveled this far to avoid being found by his sisters, he should start using his new name soon. The merchant Ort confirms they have finally arrived safely at the city after their long journey. When Noah mentions that he plans to become an adventurer, Ort studies him for a moment before handing him a small item, telling him to take it. Ort warmly thanks Noah for helping ensure the journey ended safely. Grateful for his help, the merchant hands him a recommendation letter for the Adventurers Guild, assuring him it will be useful. Noah hesitates at first, but Ort insists, explaining that without Noah's assistance during the trip, things might have ended very differently. A few days earlier, while traveling with the merchant caravan, danger struck along the road. As trouble erupted, the guard Shin quickly called out for Ort and Noah, known as Zeke, during the journey, and ordered him to stay close while preparing to defend the caravan. Noah readied himself beside the guard as the confrontation began. The caravan is suddenly ambushed by a large group of monsters emerging from the forest. Realizing they are badly outnumbered, the guards tell Ort that the only way for him to survive is to escape while they hold the creatures back. As chaos breaks out, Noah quickly pushes the merchant aside and prepares to face the attackers himself, drawing his sword as the monsters rush toward them. As the monsters close in, Noah moves without hesitation. With a single decisive strike, he slams his sword down, unleashing a powerful blow that crashes into the creature and smashes it into the ground. The sudden display of strength leaves the nearby guards stunned as the monster is overwhelmed by the impact. From the chaos of the ambush, a far more dangerous enemy appears, a general goblin. Towering over the others, the powerful monster raises its weapon and charges forward, swinging down with overwhelming force as the battle suddenly escalates. The general goblin swings its massive blade, but Noah calmly sidesteps the attack. Compared to the overwhelming strikes he endured during training with his sister Ryza, the monster's movements seem slow and easy to read. Taking advantage of the opening, Noah swiftly counters with a series of precise slashes, forcing the goblin back as the fight intensifies. As the goblin general presses forward, Noah steps in to take the next move. A nearby guard asks if he is injured, but Noah calmly refuses help and continues the fight. Surrounded by more monsters closing in, the goblin general lunges again, and Noah meets the attack head-on, their weapons crashing together with a loud clash. The general goblin charges forward with a powerful slash, carving through the ground with immense force. Yet the attack fails to hit its target. In the next instant, Noah slips past the swing and appears beside the monster, moving faster than the goblin can react. Noah darts forward and unleashes a single sweeping slash, cutting through the goblins in one motion and dropping them instantly. Noah rushes in and delivers a powerful sweeping strike, cutting through several goblins at once and dropping them instantly. The goblins collapse to the ground as Noah lowers his sword calmly. Seeing the enemies defeated so easily, the guard and merchant stare in stunned disbelief. Noah tells the guards to focus on protecting the cargo while he handles the general goblin. After defeating it with a single strike, the others are left astonished. The merchant compares Noah to the legendary hero Zeke, who slew the king dragon Bardius, but Noah modestly insists he did nothing impressive. The merchant says the credit should go to Shin and the adventurers escorting the caravan. Shin admits the monsters were pushed toward Noah after seeing how strong he was. As they arrive at the city gates, Noah notes that the goblins did seem stronger than usual. In the city, Noah and the merchant part ways. Ort thanks him sincerely for all his help and says his shop is in the Southern Business Ward. He invites Noah to visit any time and promises generous discounts. Noah gratefully agrees and says he will stop by after settling in. Noah arrives at the Adventurers Guild in Lawua. Standing before the large building, he realizes this is the first real step toward his new life. Though determined, he cannot help but feel nervous as he prepares to enter. As Noah hesitates at the entrance, a man suddenly speaks from behind him, asking if he has business with the Adventurers Guild. Startled, Noah jumps in surprise before turning around. The man laughs, saying Noah has sharp reflexes and that he only called out because he looked troubled. The man explains that the Adventurers Guild welcomes anyone with the heart for adventure. However, whether an adventurer succeeds depends on their skills, so he warns Noah not to act recklessly. Hearing this, Noah confidently agrees. Inside the guild, receptionist Lumelia greets Noah and asks if he wants to register. He confirms, and she hands him a form to fill out. Introducing himself as Zeke, he begins writing while deciding to be honest about everything except his real name. Noah suddenly asks to sell some monster parts he brought with him. When Lumelia asks where the materials are, he pulls out a small pouch and explains they are inside it. Realizing what it is, she reacts in shock it might be a magic bag. Lumelia leads Noah to a storage room to unload the materials. When he opens the magic bag and piles of monster parts spill out, she is amazed. She explains that magic bags are extremely rare and valuable, while Noah casually notes that making one is considered basic for a wizard. As the monster materials keep piling up from the magic bag, Lumelia watches in shock. Realizing the sheer amount Noah is carrying, she turns to him in disbelief and asks who he really is. Noah awkwardly explains that he is just an amateur who knows a little magic and swordplay. Seeing the materials clearly, Lumelia suddenly panics and tells him to take them outside. The goblin parts are all high-grade materials. Lumelia counts the materials: 4 D-rank goblins and 1 C-rank general goblin. Defeating them alone would normally require a B-rank adventurer. Realizing this, she wonders if Noah might be a former knight, while he quietly denies it. Lumelia cautiously asks if the materials were stolen. Noah quickly denies it and shows the letter with Ort's seal. Recognizing it, she relaxes as Ort appears and vouches for him, confirming that Noah was the one who defeated the monsters. Lumelia immediately apologizes for doubting Noah and bows deeply, saying she will trust Ort's word. Afterward, the guild staff discuss how to handle someone this capable and decide that Noah should undergo a special test for registration. The guildmaster appears and reassures everyone that strong newcomers are welcome. Introducing himself as Avelt, the guildmaster of the Lawua branch, he greets Noah and apologizes for the late introduction. Noah realizes the man is the guildmaster and is impressed. Avelt explains he only came to inform them that the reception desks are busy since the regular staff haven't returned yet. Before discussing the special test, he suddenly excuses himself and rushes off. Avelt explains that Noah can choose whether to take the special test or follow the normal registration process. Either way, he can still become an adventurer. He advises Noah to think carefully, reminding him that this will be the true beginning of his journey. The next day, Noah arrives for the special test. It takes place in the guild's underground training hall, a trial usually reserved for skilled knights or experienced mercenaries. In the vast underground training hall, Noah prepares for the special test. Lumelia explains that he will have a mock battle with an examiner, and if he performs well enough, he can start as a D-rank adventurer. Lumelia grabs Noah's hands and encourages him, saying she believes he can pass even though the mock battle will be difficult. As they prepare, Noah casually asks if he can earn any merits from taking the test. Lumelia explains there are no extra merits for the test. If Noah cannot handle D-rank quests, he will simply start with lower ranks for safety. Hearing this, Noah feels relieved and focuses on the opportunity ahead, hoping that accomplishing something today will finally give him some confidence as a new adventurer. As Noah waits for the test, he wonders if he might actually be strong. Memories of his sisters constantly calling him inept flood his mind, quickly crushing the thought. Convinced it cannot be true, he laughs it off just as someone suddenly runs in to meet him. The examiner finally arrives, Kruta, an A-rank adventurer. Apologizing for being late, she greets Noah, who is surprised that someone around his age holds such a high rank. Kruta notices Noah staring and asks if he doubts her abilities. He quickly denies it. Lumelia assures him that Kruta is one of the guild's top A-rank adventurers. Watching her confidence, Noah realizes her presence feels similar to his sister Ciel's and acknowledges her strength. Kruta points out that while Noah seems talented, he lacks confidence in himself. She warns him to stay focused, since even a mock fight can be dangerous if he's distracted. Then she asks if he still wants to proceed, and Noah firmly answers yes. Lumelia announces the rules. The fight continues until one side surrenders or she stops it. With that, the special test begins as Noah and Kruta face each other in the arena. As the fight begins, Noah recalls Kruta's words about strong people having presence. Thinking about years of being called inept by his sisters, he doubts his own strength. Even so, he steadies himself and prepares to fight, while Kruta notices his sudden change in mood. Kruta attacks first, their swords clashing sharply. As they exchange blows, she reminds herself that adventurers constantly face deadly danger. Realizing that misjudging Noah's strength could be fatal, she begins to take the fight seriously. Kruta notices Noah's quick reflexes as they trade blows. Realizing he can handle more pressure, she speeds up and launches a powerful leap to continue the attack. Kruta unleashes a rapid series of strikes, forcing Noah back across the arena as her speed overwhelms him. Noah realizes Kruta's attacks are too fast to counter and tries to create distance. Anticipating this, Kruta rushes in to cut him off, blocking his escape. Noah manages to slip away, creating some distance. Kruta notes he's only defending and still using a wooden sword without any spells. Deciding to end it, she prepares to increase her speed and overwhelm him. Noah suddenly draws his blade and unleashes a wide, sweeping slash. Kruta initially thinks it will be easy to dodge, but the unexpected speed and reach of the attack catch her off guard. Noah spins through the air and releases a powerful sweeping strike that tears across the arena. The force of the blow surprises Kruta, forcing her to brace herself as the shock of the attack echoes through the hall. Kruta stares in shock as she realizes Noah's attack produced a flying slash, an advanced technique that sends the blade's force through the air. She recognizes it as the Swordmaster's technique and asks where he learned it. Embarrassed, Noah explains he was taught by his big sister, who said it was just a basic skill for swordsmen. Kruta shrugs off the explanation and tosses aside the wooden swords, deciding to get serious. Despite the receptionist's protest that it's only a test, she calmly channels magic into her hands, assuring them not to worry as she prepares to fight with her real strength. Kruta forms two magical blades in her hands, their energy humming as she prepares to attack. Realizing she is no longer using a physical weapon, Noah understands that blocking with his wooden sword would only get it cut in half. Even so, he steadies himself, knowing her next moves will be even faster. Kruta tells Noah to dodge her attacks, using only his fighting spirit, noting that compared to Ryza's sword, her strikes should be manageable. The moment the fight resumes, she moves instantly and launches a powerful blow that sends Noah flying across the arena before he can even react. Kruta rushes forward again, calling out that Noah has lost focus. Realizing he couldn't even see her previous attacks, Noah forces himself to concentrate as she closes the distance in an instant, her blade slicing toward him before he can properly react. Noah steadies his mind and forces himself to stay calm despite Kruta's overwhelming speed. As he focuses, he finally begins to see her movements clearly. Blocking her strikes one after another, his confidence rises as he realizes that, once he can read her attacks, She is no longer an impossible opponent. Noah suddenly counterattacks. He slips past Kruta's guard and lands a clean strike, knocking her back. Surprised by the hit, he presses forward, launching another attack without hesitation. Noah follows up his momentum with a decisive blow, striking Kruta hard and sending her crashing to the ground. The impact echoes through the arena as she lands, stunned by the unexpected power behind his attack. Kruta sits in the dust with her hand raised and quickly surrenders, admitting defeat. The guild staff stare in shock as the result sinks, and an A-rank adventurer has just been beaten by a rookie. Meanwhile, the receptionist rushes toward Kruta in panic to check if she is all right, while Noah stands there unsure if he went too far. Kruta laughs it off and brushes away the concern, saying she's perfectly fine and only landed on her butt. As the dust settles, she looks at Noah again, surprised by the unexpected outcome of their match. Kruta suddenly realizes part of her outfit was damaged during the fight and quickly covers herself, flustered. Someone hands her something to wear, but she complains about how embarrassing it is. She then turns to Noah and asks if he saw anything, and he hurriedly denies it, insisting he didn't see a thing. The receptionist tells Noah to wait while she goes to call the guildmaster. After she leaves, Kruta remarks that the receptionist always panics like that. She then turns serious and leans closer to Noah, clearly wanting to discuss something with him. Kruta stops Noah before he can move away and assures him she won't hurt him. Smiling, she says he clearly has something to tell her and pulls him closer, insisting it's just between the two of them. Noah nervously admits it's nothing important, but her intense curiosity makes him even more flustered. Kruta suddenly suggests that the two of them form a party. Noah stares at her in surprise, confused by the unexpected proposal. In the Windstar Kingdom, at Noah's home, two familiar figures appear: Seal, the fourth daughter and a powerful sage, and Ryza, the second daughter known as the Swordmaster. At the first Big Sister Council, the sisters gather after a long time apart. One angrily complains that the first news they hear is that Noah has run away, questioning why Seal didn't stop him with a binding spell. Seal quietly lowers her head as the others react with frustration. Seal explains that the binding magic is dangerous and could harm Noah if used carelessly, insisting it wouldn't have stopped him anyway. One of the sisters slams the table, accusing her of taking the situation too lightly and saying she should use it next time to protect their precious little brother. Before the argument escalates, another sister steps in to calm them, reminding them there's no point in fighting among themselves. One of the sisters calmly says that while Noah running away is shocking, it's a reason for them to come together and deal with it as a family. Another admits she doesn't blame Noah, saying the sisters were probably too strict with him. Suddenly, their eldest sister, Femme, bursts in dramatically, announcing herself and complaining that the meeting took too long and kept her from sleeping. The sisters confront Ecclesia, saying she shares responsibility for how Noah turned out. They recall that after their parents died, they all agreed to raise him together, even though they weren't related by blood. To them, Noah is still their precious little brother. However, one sister points out the obvious problem: Noah has always been considered hopelessly inept, leaving them wondering what went wrong. The sisters review how each of them trained Noah. Alia taught him world affairs, CL handled his magic training, and Femme oversaw other lessons. They wonder how he endured such intense teaching without breaks. One sister notes he at least seemed to enjoy her classes, but then adds that the real problem lies elsewhere. The sisters turn to Ryza, asking about her sword training. She explains that she pushed Noah harshly, striking him until he was bruised to build his fighting spirit. Though it pained her, she believed it was necessary to make him strong in battle. The sisters start arguing, with one mocking Ryza's musclehead logic. Ecclesia fires back, claiming she's still smarter, and boasting that she even knows the 9 times table. As the bickering escalates, another sister quickly tells them to stop before the argument gets any worse. The sisters agree they must find Noah quickly, since the outside world is full of danger. Ryza confidently says Noah's sword skills are strong enough that he can protect himself. They also remind each other that he was trained in magic as well. Still, what worries them most is that Noah has never lived a normal life. If he had, he might have been fine. As they imagine Noah out in the world, gaining fame and attention for great achievements, the sisters are struck silent. The thought of him becoming popular, especially surrounded by others, visibly unsettles them. The sisters fall silent before firmly declaring they're the only ones fit to stand by Noah's side. One insists she won't allow anyone else near him, while the others agree it's completely unacceptable. As the thought escalates, they even panic over the idea of Noah getting a girlfriend, convinced it would lead to trouble for him. Realizing the situation is more serious than they thought, Riza immediately rushes off to find Noah. The others are left surprised by her sudden departure. Regaining composure, one sister suggests they regroup later to share information once they've made progress. With a serious gaze, one sister orders that they must use every means necessary to find Noah. The others nod in agreement and respond in unison, ready to act. Noah suddenly shivers, sensing something ominous from afar. Back at the guild storage, he brushes it off as nothing when asked, but the uneasy feeling lingers as he wonders what that chill was. Noah and the receptionist stand before the corpse of a giant boar from a D-rank request. She's surprised he brought in such a big catch and confirms the reward, 18,000 gold for the materials. As they walk, she asks if he's sure about his choices, while Noah casually checks on his adventurer rank, pleased with the result. Noah explains he turned down Kruda's offer to form a party. He prefers starting at D rank and working his way up, not wanting to rush. He also admits Kruda reminds him of his strict older sisters, making him uneasy, and worries he'd only slow her down as a rookie. The receptionist calls Noah back and reminds him that Kruda is an outstanding A-rank adventurer in the branch. Leaning in, she begins to whisper something to him, hinting there's more he should know about her. The receptionist whispers a secret to Noah. Kruda is incredibly beautiful when she's naked, something she once saw at a hot spring. The sudden image catches Noah completely off guard, leaving him flustered and speechless. Noah awkwardly rejects the idea of forming a relationship, saying he already struggles just dealing with Kruda. The receptionist points out that partnerships can easily grow into something closer, which catches him off guard. He explains that Kruda first mocked him, then suddenly started getting close, leaving him confused about her intentions. Kruda suddenly reappears, apologizes for underestimating Noah, and once again asks him to form a party with her. Noah immediately refuses, confused by her persistence. She casually says she was just gathering information, then brings up a new lead. There's been a reported sighting of the undead, and offers to go get the details. The receptionist explains that Kruda ran off after hearing about a specific enemy she's targeting. She hints that the request is serious, and that's exactly why Kruda is looking for strong teammates. Noah realizes her offer wasn't random. She genuinely needs help for what's coming. The receptionist slips up and quickly asks Noah to ignore what she said, embarrassed. She admits she tends to speak too freely around him because he feels different from typical adventurers. Still, she notes that while he has talent, he lacks street smarts, which could be dangerous. The receptionist warns Noah that rejecting Kruda won't be the end. She'll likely keep asking. She emphasizes that Kruda is a famous and exceptional powerhouse in the guild, with countless people wanting to partner with her, making Noah's decision all the more surprising. Other adventurers are shocked that Noah keeps rejecting Kruda's invitation. Realizing he might be drawing jealousy, Noah decides to keep a low profile for a while. He asks for a simple city request instead, but the receptionist explains those are just minor errands, not real combat jobs. Noah decides to take on simple jobs to build a good reputation and connect with the townspeople, especially since he already has money. The receptionist suggests a request to clean the graveyard at the church for 8,000 gold, and Noah gladly accepts. At the church graveyard, the scene turns grim. A figure desperately warns someone not to touch something, but it's too late. In the shadows, a sinister person calmly concludes their victim wasn't good enough, as the body collapses, hinting at something dark lurking beneath the surface. A hooded figure stands before a massive skeletal beast, surrounded by an eerie, corrupted aura. He calmly declares his intent to create a new specimen, revealing that he has been spreading seeds of his power across the land. As grotesque creatures begin to sprout and gather behind him, it becomes clear that he can generate as many monsters as he desires, turning the land into a breeding ground for his twisted creations. Zeke explains that he completed the church graveyard cleaning request using magic, finishing every last detail. However, he was then approached by Sister Rhea, who asked him to take on another task. There are strange occurrences in the underground waterway, with hazardous miasma spreading. Accepting the situation, Zeke decides to head there, next to investigate the source of the danger. Zeke, a D-rank adventurer, casts a barrier spell, creating a glowing magic circle as he activates Sanctuary to protect himself. Rhea praises Zeke's powerful light magic, impressed by its scale, while Loga notes they no longer need to worry about the miasma. Nino, a B-rank adventurer, eyes Zeke with suspicion, warning she'll cut him down if he's useless. As they approach the underground waterway, Zeke explains his spell should hold back the miasma for now, and the group prepares to investigate its source. Rhea defends Zeke, insisting he's capable and knowledgeable despite being D rank. She points out that he cleaned the entire church graveyard in just one day, surprising the others and reinforcing that his abilities are far above expectations. Zeke explains that he used the light spell Blanche, a technique that not only exorcises the undead, but also cleanses impurities. The group is surprised to learn he cast it across every grave in the churchyard, an unusual feat even within holy grounds. Rhea adds that such mastery of light magic is rare, crediting his training under Big Sis Femme. With this, it becomes clear to everyone that Zeke possesses exceptional skill, far beyond what his rank suggests. Nino bluntly admits she still doesn't like him, showing clear hostility. The others quickly reveal the reason she's jealous, having long admired Kulta but being rejected every time she asked to form a party. As the truth comes out, her attitude is exposed as frustration rather than genuine dislike. Zeke calmly accepts the situation, understanding Nino's jealousy, and assures he'll focus on doing his job. Loga laughs it off, teasing Longa about his own past rejection, while tensions lighten slightly. Rhea cuts the chatter short and orders the group to begin their investigation as they head inside. Rhea explains that despite patrols, the area became feared and was once used as a criminal base. As they enter through the sturdy gate, they find the underground waterway overtaken by foul, stagnant miasma, confirming how badly the contamination has spread. As they move along the waterway, they suspect the heavy miasma may come from monsters, though its intensity feels unusual. Sensing danger, Loga warns everyone to prepare for combat. Despite no visible enemies, Zeke remains alert, drawing his weapon as something unseen begins to stir nearby. From the contaminated water, grotesque undead suddenly emerge, their bodies decayed and distorted. They lunge toward the group without warning, confirming the miasma's source. The team quickly forms up, weapons ready, as the battle begins. A ghoul launches a sudden ambush, but Loga reacts instantly, blocking with his shield. He counters with force, driving forward as the creature lunges, meeting it head-on and stopping its attack. Nino dashes in and cuts down multiple ghouls in a swift, spinning strike, sending bodies flying. Loga pushes forward to hold the front line, warning her not to attack from above him, while he blocks and counters incoming enemies as more close in. Loga charges forward with his shield, smashing through multiple ghouls at once and clearing space for the team. Zeke follows up with a precise strike, noting how well the group fights in sync. Meanwhile, Nino and Rhea stay coordinated, keeping the formation tight as the battle continues. After the skirmish, the group confirms no one is injured, crediting Zeke for keeping them safe. Nino, though reluctant, acknowledges his skill, surprised he detected the enemies before even she could. She compares him to stealth specialists from the East, admitting it's her first time seeing someone like him, while Zeke remains puzzled by the comparison. Nino downplays Zeke's ability, claiming sensing presence is a basic skill, but then realizes he detected enemies she couldn't see at all. She admits it's actually a high-level technique, while Zeke casually attributes it to standard swordsmanship training, highlighting a gap between his perception and theirs. The group notes the attack is unusual. Ghouls lack the intelligence to ambush or coordinate strikes, especially from above. As they reflect on the anomaly, it becomes clear someone may be controlling them from behind the scenes. As they advance deeper, the miasma grows thicker. While discussing casting another barrier, Nino suddenly notices something and moves ahead, spotting a strange piece of paper on the ground, drawing the group's attention. As Nino moves ahead, something suddenly lashes out from the shadows. She's caught off guard and lifted into the air by multiple tendril-like attacks, leaving the group stunned as the ambush unfolds in an instant. A massive dragon zombie suddenly appears, revealing itself as the source of the attack. As it roars, Nino is thrown aside, and the group realizes they're facing a disaster-class monster. Zeke reacts instantly, rushing in to intercept and strike as the situation escalates into a deadly fight. As the dragon zombie's attack crashes down, Loga grabs Nino and pulls her out of harm's way. Zeke dashes forward through the water, closing the distance at high speed as the creature's sweeping strike tears through the area, accelerating toward the monster to engage it head-on. Zeke closes in and strikes the dragon zombie head-on, clashing against its massive skeletal body. The impact halts its advance for a moment, but the creature roars and endures the blow, forcing Zeke to brace himself as the fight intensifies. Zeke pushes forward without hesitation, dashing straight at the dragon zombie. With a focused glare, he launches a rapid series of strikes, weaving through its massive frame as his blade cuts in swift, precise arcs. Zeke unleashes a rapid barrage of slashes, striking the dragon zombie from multiple angles. Despite the speed and precision, his blade fails to penetrate its body, barely leaving a mark. Realizing the creature's toughness, he pulls back, acknowledging his attacks aren't enough to damage it. Realizing direct attacks are ineffective, Zeke considers putting more power into his strikes but hesitates, knowing his sword might not withstand it. Recalling Ryza's advice about treating weapons carefully, he holds back. Meanwhile, the others urge a retreat, pointing out the dragon's size prevents it from following them into a narrow corridor. As they attempt to retreat, a horde of ghouls suddenly blocks their path, surrounding them. The group realizes they've been led into a trap, cutting off their escape and forcing them to face enemies from both sides. With the dragon zombie closing in and the path blocked, Zeke steels himself. Acknowledging the risk, he apologizes to Ryza and prepares to push his sword beyond its limits, ready to act despite the chance it may break. Zeke resolves himself, gripping his sword as power surges around him. Determined to protect his teammates, he decides to push past his limits, even if it means ignoring his training and risking his weapon. Zeke releases a surge of power and charges, his blade striking with overwhelming force. The impact finally breaks through, shattering the dragon zombie's body and destroying its core, ending the threat in a single decisive blow. Zeke's strike succeeds, but his sword shatters from the strain, leaving him exposed. The shattered blade leaves Zeke momentarily shaken, but his attention is quickly drawn to the glowing core within the dragon's body. As the fragments of his sword fall away, the monster begins to regenerate, its wound closing unnaturally fast. Realizing the truth, his allies shout a warning the demon core is sustaining it. Before he can react, the dragon lunges forward, its jaws opening wide as it prepares a direct attack, forcing Zeke into immediate danger. A blast erupts as a dragon unleashes a powerful roar, shaking the area. In an instant, Longa is pulled to safety, while a protective barrier forms around her. Realizing the dragon's overwhelming magic resistance, Zeke clenches his fists, determined to act despite the danger and his own hesitation. A sharp slap snaps him back as his ally shouts for unity. The group rallies, vowing to protect Rhea and hold the line. He reveals a trump card, a black mana steel kunai, and hands it over, insisting it won't break and must be used. The dragon exhales as a barrier rises, blocking its attack. In the opening created, the weapon is hurled forward. With focus locked on the target, the strike is launched as the signal to act is given. The dragon's exposed core is revealed within its bones. Seizing the moment, he charges straight in, aiming to shatter it in a single decisive strike. The strike lands cleanly, piercing the core. The dragon's body shatters and collapses, its form crumbling away as the threat is finally destroyed. With the dragon gone, relief sets in. The group celebrates the victory, praising him for the decisive blow. He credits the black mana steel, handing it over and noting its power, while being reminded it must be handled with care. She bows in gratitude, acknowledging the victory was only possible because of him. He downplays it, but her gaze lingers, sensing an unusual presence around him. As she questions it, he turns in surprise at her call. She brushes it off and changes the subject. The path is now clear as the ghouls have vanished. The group questions who was behind the attack, suspecting a powerful wizard targeting them. A brief prayer is offered for the fallen dragon before the group decides to withdraw. The mission proved tougher than expected, so they plan to report back and collect materials later. As they leave, he worries about being scolded, clutching the crumbling remains in hand. He eagerly offers to introduce them to a skilled blacksmith, urging them to trust him before anyone objects. The group agrees and moves out, unaware as a lurking serpent quietly stirs behind them. In the Windstar Kingdom, the city buzzes with life. Amid the crowd, she reflects on how long it's been since her summoning, stepping forward with a steady, resolute gaze. Challenged in the royal hall, she stands firm as a massive construct is summoned before her. Unfazed, she accepts the test, ready to fight whatever is sent. The summoned construct is revealed as Argos, far from an ordinary golem. Towering and heavily armed, it bears an ancient artifact weapon, a multi-barreled Gatling gun excavated from forgotten ruins. Alarm spreads among the onlookers as they warn their lord to reconsider, fearing its overwhelming power. Despite her title as Swordmaster, they believe facing Argos means certain defeat, its destructive force far beyond a normal trial. She calmly stretches, loosening her body as if preparing for a routine spar, not a deadly trial. With unwavering confidence, she declares she will deflect every attack the monstrous construct can unleash. Her sharp gaze silences the room, leaving the onlookers stunned by her composure. Then, turning to the king, she adds that if she wins, she will demand a request her confidence, making it sound less like a gamble and more like a certainty. She rejects the idea of a simple break and states her true demand. With fierce resolve, she declares she wants time to search for her missing brother. The room stiffens at the weight of her words, and the king, moved by the urgency, agrees to grant her request if she wins. At the command, the mage hastily activates a defensive spell around the arena, distancing himself from the outcome. The massive construct powers up, its core humming and locking onto its target. She stands firm, drawing her blade with calm precision, her focus unshaken as she questions the one who vanished. As the weapon charges with a rising whine, she recalls the vow made after losing both parents to protect, no matter the cost. That promise steels her resolve, even as doubt lingers, reminding her that strength alone may not be enough. The construct fires, unleashing a devastating blast across the hall. She braces against the impact, the force tearing through the space as her resolve hardens if she falters. She cannot protect what matters. The blast surges forward, but she meets it head-on, cutting through the force with sheer precision. In a blur, she unleashes a rapid series of strikes, her blade flashing repeatedly as each slash tears through the attack and drives straight toward the construct. The construct shudders, its massive frame cracking under the relentless strikes. Cheers erupt as its body collapses in pieces behind her. She walks forward calmly, blade lowered, as the shattered remains crumble to the ground. With the arena in ruins behind her, she steps forward and addresses the king. Claiming her victory, she invokes his promise and declares she will now leave to search for her missing brother, her resolve unwavering. In the border city of Lodja, the dragon zombie extermination is declared complete. Exhausted but relieved, the group gathers around the massive remains, reflecting on the battle as they receive praise and prepare to take a well-earned break. As they prepare to leave, he steps forward and reveals the reward, a massive sum for the mission. Believing he took too much, he tries to downplay it, but the others firmly insist he earned it, distributing the shares according to each person's contribution. She casually reveals she's a B-rank adventurer and not in need of money. Later, he tells him to be ready tomorrow, hinting at a surprise. As they part, he promises to take him somewhere special, leaving the others curious about what's coming next. The next morning in the bustling city, he waits confidently in the square. Spotting a familiar face, he calls out, drawing attention as the others arrive, setting the stage for what's to come. With a confident call, he leads them forward. She suddenly joins in, throwing off the plan and calling him out, leaving him flustered as she fixes him with a sharp glare. He excitedly reveals the destination, a notorious water street, known for its older women calling it the perfect reward for their success. She reacts sharply, exposing his intentions, while he scrambles to justify it. Flustered, he backs off, worried about how the others would judge him, and awkwardly refuses. Under the intense stares of the women, he nervously blurts out that he has 5 terrifying older sisters at home. The pressure breaks him, and the plan is quickly abandoned. Laughing it off, they decide to head to the blacksmith instead, while he admits with a shiver that those big sisters truly are that scary. They walk through the crowded artisan district, filled with workshops and adventurers. He explains the city's central location and steady flow of materials, while she adds that dwarves live nearby. Hearing this, excitement rises at the chance to finally meet one. They arrive at a massive forge, its scale impressive at first glance. Excitement rises until it's revealed that's not the place. The real destination is a much smaller shop nearby, a modest forge run by a true master. At the small forge, he teases her for being stingy, promising she'll understand once they meet the artisan. Suddenly, a powerful roar and surge of force erupt from inside, startling them as a blast shakes the entrance. Inside the forge, a massive, scarred blacksmith works beside a blazing furnace. Called Barg, he greets Longa casually, his presence intense and imposing. As introductions are made, his sharp gaze turns to the newcomers, sizing them up without hesitation. He introduces them to Barg, praising their skill, while the blacksmith casually tests their weapons and observes them. He bluntly asks which one is stronger, unimpressed at first glance. As the conversation continues, the truth slips out. One of them defeated a dragon zombie alone, shifting the mood as interest sharpens. Barg suddenly grabs him, demanding confirmation with intense excitement. Getting uncomfortably close, he sniffs him, convinced he senses incredible strength. Trembling with enthusiasm, he declares his approval, leaving him shaken by the overwhelming reaction. With a fierce glare, Barg abruptly orders him to strip. Caught completely off guard, he panics and stammers in refusal, overwhelmed by the sudden demand. Back in the Windstar Kingdom, the city hums with life. She stands amid the crowd, reflecting on how long it's been since her summoning, her expression steady yet burdened by lingering thoughts. Elsewhere, he quietly recalls the awkward encounter at the forge, still flushed with embarrassment. Trying to shake it off, he suddenly snapped back to reality as someone calls out to him, teasing him for taking so long. Longa bursts out laughing, recalling the absurd scene. At the forge, Barg had been utterly captivated, praising his physique like a priceless treasure and fawning over every detail. Embarrassed, he tries to brush it off as nothing special, but Longa presses him, curious about how he trained such refined strength. He recalls harsh training under his older sister being pushed to exhaustion, repeatedly healed, and forced to keep going. Under her constant watch, he trained relentlessly, forging his strength through pain and repetition. Realizing it, he concludes that's how his body was refined and why his swordsmanship now surpasses even the kunai. She stifles a laugh behind her hand, claiming it's just a sneeze, though it's clearly not. He calls her out, flustered, while the teasing continues. Brushing it off, the group decides to head back to the guild, their mood lightened. At the guild, a new request from Barg is revealed. He presents his masterpiece sword and assigns a task: collect rock tortoise shells. If completed, he'll acknowledge the wielder as the sword's true master. With the blade entrusted to him, the two are urged to take on the request themselves. She explains that only B-rank adventurers can take on the request, meaning they're now eligible to handle it on their own. At the guild, the paperwork is completed, and with a cheerful confirmation from the receptionist, their party is officially formed. At the guild, they check in with Lumilia, who looks exhausted after days of non-stop work finishing reports. Grateful but worn out, she finally prepares to rest. In hushed tones, it's revealed that higher-ranked adventurers are now investigating the underground waterways, following up on the dragon zombie incident. An A-rank adventurer, Kulta, steps in confidently, declaring she's part of the investigation. Her presence shifts the atmosphere, drawing immediate attention as she joins the discussion. Kulta greets them warmly, pulling Nino into an enthusiastic hug. As they catch up, she confirms she's been assigned to the investigation. Her tone turns serious as she warns them she sensed something unknown and terrifying deep below, urging them to be careful. Kulta reassures them with confidence, brushing off concern as she prepares to leave. Nino clings to her, clearly worried, while he laughs it off. As they part, a quiet unease lingers. He admits that when it comes to the undead, he feels as if he's bound to encounter them again. She pauses at the question, then quietly admits something did happen in the past. Brushing it off with a faint smile, she calls it a common story, avoiding the deeper details. She hesitates at the question, eyes softening, then admits there is a past behind it. With a faint, guarded smile, she downplays it as nothing unusual, calling it just a common story, while keeping the details to herself. She reveals the truth behind her past, a young girl who lost everything when demons destroyed her home, then chose the path of an adventurer driven by revenge. When he realizes that girl was her, she dismisses any sympathy, refusing to see herself as someone deserving of it. She admits she had been trying to recruit him, even using him as bait for her revenge. Now, with her goal already in motion, she decides to let him go his own way. With a casual farewell, she leaves, ending the moment on her own terms. He stops her and hands over a small charm, explaining it's a demon core infused with light magic that can protect her from miasma. She pauses, surprised by the gesture, while the others watch the exchange unfold. She fixates on the charm, muttering as she examines it closely, drawing confused looks from the others. Snapping out of it, she hands it back with a warm smile, wishing her safety. Kulta accepts it calmly, assuring them she'll be fine, and departs without concern. As she walks away, she calls out to him and, with a playful smile, asks him to dinner once her task is done. He agrees without hesitation, brightening at the invitation. Satisfied, she parts ways, leaving the promise hanging between them. Back at the guild, they brush off concern for Kulta, trusting her strength. Refocusing on their own task, they decide to head out immediately. In the Pananel Great Wetlands, they set their sights on hunting rock tortoises. In the wetlands, a massive rock tortoise emerges, its heavy body crushing the ground as it feeds and rampages. With brutal force, it snaps through prey and shatters bone with ease. Faced with its overwhelming strength and durability, the group prepares to harvest the materials needed for Barg's request. They observe the rock tortoise up close, realizing its sheer size and resilience. With magic resistance and a body that shrugs off normal attacks, it seems nearly untouchable. The solution becomes clear. Target the weak point at its neck, where a precise blade strike can cut through. He draws the newly forged sword, its edge gleaming with promise. With quiet anticipation, they prepare to measure the blade's true power in battle. The sword's origin is revealed. It was forged from meteor iron, once a massive fallen rock over 5 meters wide, refined through intense heat and compression. Barg presents it with pride, declaring that the blade possesses 3 unique qualities. He tests the blade against the rock tortoise, the impact ringing loudly, yet the sword remains flawless. Barg reveals the first trait, absolute sturdiness, a weapon that won't break even under overwhelming force. As the creature strikes back, he realizes there's more to uncover. With a swift motion, the blade slices cleanly through the rock tortoise's tough shell. Barg reveals the second trait, exceptional sharpness, capable of cutting even the hardest defenses with ease, proving why he calls it his masterpiece. The rock tortoise collapses as the blade proves its power. With its unmatched sturdiness and sharpness, it can handle his full strength. Though heavy and costly, it suits him perfectly, and he notes there's still one more special quality yet to be revealed. Though one falls, they realize the threat isn't over. The creatures don't come alone. More emerge, surrounding them as tension rises. Instantly, the group shifts into formation, ready to face the incoming swarm. A full pack of rock tortoises closes in, surrounding them from all sides. The sudden swarm raises alarm, and she points out the cause. Powerful presence draws monsters in. With no escape, they brace themselves as the hunt turns into a full-scale fight. Surrounded, they resolve to fight. He holds the line while she and Nino draw the monster's attention, creating an opening for him to strike. As they prepare, she warns that this wetland is dangerous, and that a stronger rock tortoise variant may be among them. A massive variant emerges, the magma tortoise, its body radiating heat and pressure as it slams into the battlefield. Far more aggressive and dangerous than the others, its presence shifts the fight instantly, forcing them to brace against a far deadlier threat. The blade whistles through the air in a swift arc, cutting cleanly across the creature's body. The strike lands with precision, sending a sharp shock through the monster as the force of the slash drives into its core. The strike slices through, but the heat surges back violently. Scorching air blasts outward, forcing them to brace behind the shield as waves of heat ripple across the field. Despite the hit, the creature holds firm, its shell softer than expected, yet still too resilient. Long-range attacks prove ineffective, leaving them to rethink their approach as the battle intensifies. Surrounded in the unstable marsh, they hesitate. Closing the distance could be deadly. The ground offers poor footing, and the heat radiating from the magma tortoise makes even proximity dangerous. The realization sets in quickly. This variant isn't just tougher, it emits intense heat from both head and body, enough to burn anyone who gets too close. As the creature lets out a thunderous roar, the danger becomes undeniable. This is far beyond a normal rock tortoise. Projectiles streak in, striking the creature as one leaps in and slashes at close range. The coordinated assault lands cleanly, forcing the magma tortoise to recoil under the combined attack. They press forward with another coordinated strike, but quickly reassess the situation. Unlike the others, the magma tortoise doesn't resist magic, making it a viable weakness, but none of them can actually use it. Its slow movements offer openings, yet its overwhelming heat and durability still make every approach dangerous. As the idea sinks in, the group hesitates. They understand the solution, but lack the means to execute it. With no wizard among them, the fight turns into a problem of strategy rather than strength, forcing them to think fast before the advantage slips away. The sword's final ability comes to mind, mana absorption. It can take in and store magical energy, a rare trait born from the meteorite it was forged from. That means even unavoidable spells can be cut through and neutralized, their power absorbed instead of causing harm. Realization sets in. Against a creature that emits intense energy, this blade isn't just strong, it's the perfect counter. The blade can absorb mana, but not endlessly. If overloaded, it releases the stored energy on its own, forcing careful control. While it could be used to cast magic, the warning is clear: trying to master both swordsmanship and magic leads to mediocrity in each. Power alone isn't enough. It demands discipline and a clear path. He recalls the warning about spell swords and their limits, but chooses a different approach. Forming a plan, he decides to channel the absorbed mana into a flying slash, attempting to turn the sword's stored energy into a direct attack. He prepares to test the technique, planning to combine mana and unleash it as a flying slash against the magma tortoise. Acknowledging the risk and time needed to build the power, he asks his allies to hold the line and buy him time. They split roles instantly. One draws the magma tortoise's attention, while another takes on the surrounding creatures. He confirms his plan to strike once the opening is made, while she points out the risk using them as bait. Despite it, they commit to the strategy without hesitation. As the others engage and hold the enemy back, he begins preparing his technique. He gathers mana within himself, focusing it inward, then channels that energy into the blade, steadily building power for the strike. He concentrates the gathered mana, converting it into an ice attribute within his body. With a decisive motion, he forces it all into the blade at once, compressing the energy as cracks form under the strain, preparing to unleash it in a single strike. The blade erupts with frozen energy as he swings, releasing the compressed mana in a single motion. A flash of icy power bursts outward, the strike carrying both force and freezing impact toward the target. As he focuses on the attack, the magma tortoise lunges. She rushes in, intercepting the strike and deflecting it just in time, stopping the blow from reaching him and forcing the creature back. She dashes in, striking and drawing the creature forward. The magma tortoise charges after her and suddenly plunges into a bottomless section of the marsh, its massive body sinking as it struggles to regain footing. Seizing the moment, he unleashes the charged attack. The blade arcs forward, releasing a single concentrated ice slash that cuts cleanly through the trapped magma tortoise, the frozen strike crashing into it with decisive force. The frozen impact shatters the creature, its body breaking apart as it collapses. With the threat gone, silence returns, and the group drops in exhaustion, battle finally over. The tension fades into quiet relief. Praise is given with a hint of disbelief, while others brush it off, acknowledging his skill more casually. Despite the exhaustion, a small sense of pride settles in. Their teamwork proves solid, and for the first time, they truly feel like a capable party. With the job done, the mood lightens as they talk about rewards and small celebrations. Back at the guild, the conversation shifts. His performance has already exceeded expectations, and the idea of taking the advancement test is finally brought up. At the guild, the requirements for rank advancement are laid out clearly. Complete enough requests for the current rank, then pass a formal test to move up. Confident in his progress, it's suggested he could handle the next exam without much trouble. However, as they approach, they're met with an unexpected sight: a large crowd gathered at the guild entrance. The usual calm atmosphere is gone, replaced by chatter and tension, hinting that something unusual is happening beyond just a routine advancement test. Panic spreads as a church sister rushes in with urgent news. Something is wrong at the graveyard. Struggling to stay composed, she reports that the situation is escalating beyond control. The scene shifts to the cemetery, where the dead have begun to rise. More undead emerge, confirming that the disturbance is no isolated incident, but the start of a growing threat. She explains the source. The disturbance is coming from the underground waterways beneath the church, accompanied by a growing rumble. An emergency request is made as the situation escalates, with evacuation needed above while the real threat lies below. As the ground continues to shake, the urgency becomes clear. This is no ordinary outbreak. A sudden explosion erupts in the distance, a column of smoke rising above the town. The direction is clear: the church. As panic spreads and people begin to move, a sense of dread settles in, confirming that the situation has escalated far beyond control. Without hesitation, they decide to move out, despite just finishing their last battle. Orders are given to get others to safety as they prepare to head toward the church. But before they can act, a sudden impact echoes nearby, cutting through the moment and forcing them to react instantly. A massive vortex tears open near the church, swirling with dark energy. From it, waves of undead begin pouring out, along with thick miasma, turning the area into a growing disaster zone. A pillar of holy light crashes down, wiping out waves of undead as she begins casting to contain the outbreak. At the same moment, something lashes out from above. Dark tendrils coil around her midair, seizing her and pulling her into the mass below. The guildmaster listens as the party reports that an unknown monster fled with Kulita. Though they managed to confront it, their attempt to stop it failed. Despite the outcome, he notes that their safe return is what matters most. The guildmaster concludes that the creature was likely a demon. He explains that demons differ from ordinary monsters, being intelligent, wicked, and immensely powerful, leaving the group in stunned realization. They deduce the demon had a base beneath the church, where it experimented on the undead, causing the miasma. The undead appearing around the area confirm this, leading to the conclusion that the dragon zombie was guarding the base. The captain questions why the demon abducted Kulita. The group recalls the encounter, noting the creature held back and could have destroyed them. This leads to the realization that Kulita was likely its intended target. They confirm necromancy tools were found at the site, raising fears that Kulita was taken for an experiment. As doubts grow, the guildmaster abruptly ends the discussion, declaring there's nothing more to be done. As urgency rises to rescue Kulita, the guildmaster restrains them, warning that the enemy is a necromancer demon. Sending a large force could lead to more casualties, as they may also have to fight the undead. The guildmaster explains that defeating the demon would require someone with strength comparable to an S-rank adventurer. Although they agree such help is necessary, he reveals that a request has already been made, and there is nothing more they can do. When urged to summon that person immediately, he clarifies that the individual is currently occupied with personal matters and cannot assist. Faced with this, the group is left with the harsh reality that taking action now would be too dangerous without that level of support. They reveal the person they sought help from is a woman, one who rarely accepts requests. As concern for Kulita grows, it becomes clear that only someone of exceptional strength could handle the situation. The guildmaster then names her Lady Ryza, the swordmaster renowned as the strongest among countless swordsmen on the continent. Zeke coughs and gathers himself, realizing the discussion was about Ryza. Though acknowledging her overwhelming strength, he resolves to act alone. Declaring he knows Kulita's location, he moves to leave, but is immediately stopped and warned that going alone would be suicidal, especially without knowing the full situation. They reveal Kulita's location in the Wicked Spirit Forest, tracked through a spell placed on her charm. Though surprised by the use of tracking magic, they accept it as useful. With her whereabouts known, they shift focus to figuring out what can be done to save her. Overcome with emotion, she declares that without Kulita, continuing as an adventurer feels meaningless. Resolving to act, she decides to go save her. Seeing her determination, Nino chooses to accompany her, recognizing how deeply important Kulita is to her. Zeke smiles lightly, recalling Kulita's promise to treat him to dinner, masking the gravity of the situation with a casual remark. His attitude catches the others off guard, while she looks at him with a mix of concern and disbelief. As they move to act, Zeke stops the guildmaster and presents a knife bearing a family crest. He explains that if this is shown to the swordmaster Ryza, she will abandon whatever she's doing and come. Recognizing the significance of the crest, the guildmaster is left stunned at what this could mean. Zeke confidently declares that Ryza will handle everything, leaving the guildmaster shaken by the implication. Despite his doubts, he permits the three to pursue the demon as a special exception. As they prepare to depart, he warns them to retreat immediately if the situation turns impossible, and they accept the order without hesitation. In the Wicked Spirit Forest, Zeke reflects that he never meant to reveal his position. He keeps the knife given as a memento, trusting it will draw Ryza's attention. Aware that her arrival may take days, they decide to act first, determined to reach Kulita before she does. In the forest, he speaks quietly with her, acknowledging the risks ahead and hinting at the possibility of not returning. She thanks Zeke for the knife, recognizing its importance and promising to repay him. He brushes it off, saying the gratitude should go to Nino instead, since he chose to come along despite not needing to. They acknowledge their enemy is a demon commanding the undead as they move forward. Along the way, he hands over high-grade holy water given by Sister Rhea, explaining its effectiveness against the undead. Though surprised by such a valuable item being shared so freely, they accept it as a crucial aid for the battle ahead. Following the map toward the mansion deep in the forest, they press on, confident they are on the right path. However, despite walking for a long time, they realize they haven't gotten any closer, suggesting something is preventing them from reaching their destination. Suspecting a trap, she uses a technique to see through illusions, but finds nothing unusual. As they question why they can't reach their destination, Zeke notices something off about the surroundings. Realizing the trick, he suddenly strikes, warning the others as he identifies what's blocking their path. The illusion breaks as a hidden plant monster reveals itself, a treant disguised among the trees. It lashes out suddenly, catching them off guard and confirming that something in the forest has been deliberately obstructing their path. They realize the treants are the reason they haven't progressed, manipulating the forest's layout and misleading them. Because they are real creatures, not illusions, they evade detection. As the monsters attack and restrain them, it becomes clear they're using tactics similar to the dragon zombie, actively hindering their advance. Understanding the treant's trick, they shift to offense. He orders Nino behind him and charges forward, declaring that once their method is known, they're manageable. With coordinated strikes, they push through the attacking treants, cutting a path deeper into the forest. With a final push, they break through the treants' blockade. The distorted path clears, revealing the road ahead and the mansion in the distance. Realizing they've finally escaped the trap, they press forward toward their true destination. Just as they advance, more enemies emerge, undead guard dogs rushing toward them. Realizing the mansion is heavily defended, they prepare to face yet another obstacle blocking their path. As more undead appear near the mansion, they conclude it must be the demon's base. Suddenly the ground trembles as something massive approaches, its heavy footsteps signaling an even greater threat ahead. Two massive undead giants step forward to block their path, confirming the mansion is heavily guarded. Realizing these enemies are meant to stop them from advancing, they prepare for a far tougher battle ahead. Facing the undead giants, they quickly decide to split roles. Realizing the fight could drag on and more enemies may arrive, he orders Zeke to move ahead toward the mansion while they hold the line, ensuring the mission doesn't stall. She urges Zeke to press on, explaining that defeating the necromancer will stop all the undead. With enemies closing in and time running out, she insists they can't save Kulita if they remain stalled. Reluctantly accepting, Zeke agrees to go ahead, warning them not to overextend themselves as he charges forward. As Zeke charges ahead, the others hold the line, cutting down waves of undead. Testing their advantage, they use the high-grade holy water against the enemies, hoping it will prove effective as they continue fighting to keep the path open. Zeke reaches the old mansion in the Wicked Spirit Forest and forces his way inside. As he steps into the hall, a voice welcomes him, confirming the demon has been expecting his arrival. Inside the mansion, Zeke confronts the robed necromancer and demands Kulita's whereabouts. The figure remains calm, assuring him there's no need to shout and that he will see her soon, deepening the tension as the confrontation begins. Zeke demands answers, and the necromancer coldly reveals the truth. Kulita has been turned into a vessel for his necromancy. Forced to contain numerous souls within her living body, she now stands before him transformed, her condition exposing the cruelty of the experiment. The necromancer explains that Kulita is now both alive and undead, her body sustained by unnatural regeneration. By exploiting her intense emotions, he has turned her into a perfect vessel for multiple souls, something he claims was once impossible. He even expresses gratitude, viewing her hatred and desire for revenge as the key that made his experiment succeed. The necromancer proudly calls Kulita his masterpiece. As Zeke moves to attack, she suddenly intervenes, stopping him and declaring she cannot let him leave alive, showing she is no longer fully herself. Zeke attacks, but the necromancer intercepts, confident in Kulita's overwhelming strength. He explains she now holds the power of countless souls gathered over centuries, far beyond what they faced before, and declares that Zeke has no chance of defeating her. Kulita moves with overwhelming speed, catching Zeke off guard as she closes the distance instantly. Her attacks come relentlessly, forcing him on the defensive as the sheer power and intensity of her movements make it clear he's facing something far beyond a normal opponent. Zeke struggles to keep up as their blades clash repeatedly, each strike pushing him further back. Despite fighting with everything he has, her speed and power overwhelm him, and he realizes he cannot match her. Zeke unleashes an exorcism spell, briefly pushing back the overwhelming presence around Kulita. The necromancer is surprised by this ability, but the moment of relief is short-lived, as it becomes clear the spell alone isn't enough to purge the countless souls within her. Realizing his exorcism isn't enough, Zeke searches for a way to save her. The necromancer admits it isn't impossible, hinting that a specific light magic spell, Le Soleil, could purge the souls and restore her, revealing a narrow path to salvation. Zeke realizes the spell mentioned is the ultimate light magic used by Ryza. Gathering his resolve, he prepares to replicate it, forming a magic circle beneath him. The method requires temporarily housing a light spirit within his body and using its power to purify everything at once. Zeke completes the incantation, drawing in the power of a light spirit as the magic circle shines beneath him. A radiant figure descends, and he invokes Le Soleil, unleashing a purifying force meant to cleanse everything and reach Kulita. The necromancer reflects that creating the ultimate undead is the dream of all in his craft. For the demon Valgema, it was his ultimate goal, achieved through countless cruel experiments without regard for the cost, until he finally succeeded. The spell was designed to fuse the living and the undead, using Kulita as a vessel for multiple spirits. By forcing dead souls into a human body, it creates a powerful hybrid, but the necromancer notes that this method comes with a critical flaw. The flaw is fatal. Human bodies naturally reject dead spirits, leading to death. Unable to sustain them, the body collapses under the strain. To overcome this, Valgema devised a gruesome solution, forcing a way to stabilize the possession through unnatural means. Valgema's method was ruthless: destroy a village, slaughter its people, and leave a single survivor. The dead would become spirits, while the survivor, consumed by grief and hatred, would seek revenge. That intense emotion would allow them to endure possession, turning them into a stable vessel, the ultimate undead. The necromancer boasts that the spell is the culmination of Valgema's brutal research and a great success. But as he speaks, the radiant light of Le Soleil spreads across the mansion, signaling that his creation and the spell sustaining it is about to be undone. As the light intensifies, the necromancer panics, realizing his work is being undone. The radiance engulfs Kulita, stripping away the souls bound to her as he desperately tries to stop it, his control slipping away under the overwhelming purification. As the light fades, the bound souls disperse and Kulita collapses into Zeke's arms. With the possession broken, she returns to normal, breathing softly as he steadies her, confirming the purification has succeeded. The necromancer, enraged, questions how Zeke could use such a spell after all the years it took him to perfect it. As his creation collapses, he rants about the countless lives sacrificed for his research. Zeke, holding Kulita, confronts him coldly, pointing out the weight of those lives and condemning what he has done. The necromancer breaks down in rage, unable to accept that his years of work were undone so easily. He rants about the countless lives he sacrificed to perfect his spell. Standing firm while holding Kulita, Zeke condemns him, calling out the countless innocent lives taken for his twisted ambition. Zeke confronts him, demanding to know if he understands the value of life. In response, the necromancer coldly silences him, unleashing a violent attack as monstrous forms surge forward, cutting off any further words. Enraged, the necromancer lashes out, summoning grotesque, multi-headed creatures to strike. As the monstrous jaws close in, he condemns Zeke, declaring him an inferior human and demanding he pay in blood. Driven by fury, the necromancer unleashes a mass of writhing, multi-headed creatures that surge toward Zeke in a violent wave. Snarling and filled with contempt, he condemns him as an inferior human and demands he pay for defying him as the monstrous jaws close in from all sides. As the monstrous heads lunge in, Zeke reacts instantly, leaping back to avoid being swallowed. The massive limbs crash down, shaking the ground, but he evades the assault and regains his footing, preparing to counter the relentless attack. Zeke flips through the air to evade a crushing strike, landing as the massive attack shatters the floor. Despite the monster's ferocity, he recognizes the strength behind it, comparable to Ryza's, realizing he's up against an overwhelming force. Zeke steadies himself and counters, slicing through the attacking heads with precision. Trusting in his weapon, he declares he won't be outmatched, breaking through the assault and clearing a path as he faces the necromancer head-on. Zeke weaves between the snapping heads, parrying and striking in quick succession as their blows clash mid-air. Despite his momentum, the necromancer mocks him and launches another crushing attack, pressing the assault and trying to overwhelm him completely. Zeke presses forward through the assault, driving his blade into the snapping jaws and breaking through their defense. He slips past the closing bite and counters with a decisive strike, shattering one of the monstrous heads as he closes the distance to the necromancer. Zeke launches a powerful flying slash, cutting through the remaining obstruction as he closes in. The strike tears past the monster's guard and drives straight toward the necromancer, marking his decisive counterattack. Zeke's flying slash lands, cutting through the creature and finally reaching the necromancer. Though wounded, the necromancer remains standing, surprised but not defeated, as Zeke lands and prepares for the next exchange. Bleeding but grinning, the necromancer praises Zeke's potential, recognizing him as another suitable vessel. Abandoning the idea of killing him, he declares he will capture him instead and turn him into his next experiment, as grotesque forms gather around him once more. The necromancer surges forward, declaring the start of a new experiment. Zeke, exhausted and running low on strength, considers retreating with Kulita, realizing the fight may not end at this pace. Sensing this, the necromancer threatens to capture those Zeke cares about first, aiming to break him before his eyes. The necromancer threatens to kill Zeke's allies one by one and harvest their souls, pushing him to the brink. Enraged and shaken, Zeke reacts instantly, raising his hand and invoking another burst of light, preparing to strike back before the threat becomes reality. Driven by desperation and resolve, Zeke focuses his power, declaring he must end this now. With light gathering around his blade, he commits to a decisive strike, determined to defeat the necromancer before anyone else is harmed. Zeke steadies himself, eyes locked on the necromancer's core. He declares he'll strike where regeneration won't reach, channeling light through his blade. The necromancer, unfazed, accepts the challenge, intrigued by the brilliance of the magic and the way Zeke continues to evolve mid-battle. As the monstrous form rises again, writhing with fused bodies, a voice calls out to Zeke, while another observer notices the sudden surge of power gathering around him, hinting that his next move will decide everything. Zeke bursts forward in a flash, his body wrapped in streaks of light as he closes the distance instantly. His blade carves through the air in rapid succession, striking from multiple angles and forcing the necromancer's mass backward with explosive impacts. The creature reacts, surprised by the sudden increase in speed, but remains confident. Even as the attacks rain down, it calmly evades, weaving through each strike with unnatural ease, convinced it can still keep up with him. The necromancer twists his grotesque form freely, shifting and bending in impossible ways to evade every angle of attack. Declaring his absolute control over movement, he slips past Zeke's assault and counters in the same instant. Zeke's eyes widen as the gap closes too fast to react. The enemy's strike lands decisively, and with chilling certainty, the necromancer declares his victory. The necromancer's confidence shatters in an instant, his hollow eyes widening as something pierces straight through his skull. From below, Zeke is already in motion, having slipped past the fatal strike at the last second. The opening appears for only a heartbeat. A shout breaks the tension, urging him to act, and Zeke responds immediately. With a precise, upward slash, he drives his blade through the enemy's core, turning the moment of supposed defeat into a sudden reversal. The blade erupts with radiant power as the strike is unleashed. Magic sword, light flash, single flash. A blinding arc of light cleaves through the necromancer's skull, slicing cleanly across his core in a single decisive motion. The impact burns through him instantly. His form trembles, unable to withstand the purification, as fragments scatter and his structure begins to collapse. Realizing too late, the necromancer falters, his body breaking apart under the overwhelming light. The monstrous mass behind him convulses and crashes down, its movements unraveling as the spell takes effect. The skull began to crumble, fragments breaking away as its structure gave in. The chamber fell quiet, except for the sound of debris scattering across the floor. A figure rushed forward, calling out to Zeke, urgency in his voice. He stopped upon seeing the aftermath, breathing heavily as he took in the scene. He steadied himself, gripping his weapon, and spoke between breaths. If the light had remained for just a little longer, the outcome might have been different. Kulta regained consciousness, startled and disoriented. She quickly explained that she had thrown her knife after noticing the danger, acting on instinct when she saw the situation unfolding. Confusion spread as questions arose about what had happened and what kind of creature they had faced. When asked, she admitted she remembered nothing after being abducted. Looking down at herself, she realized her current state, her confusion deepening as she questioned why she was there at all. A brief tension lingered as a hand tightened, then eased. The two stood facing each other in the quiet hall, one remarking lightly that he had caused trouble, only to be dismissed. The moment softened. She stepped closer, her expression warming, and acknowledged what had been done. Her family had been freed. Gratitude followed, gentle and sincere, as she leaned in, calling his name softly and thanking him, her smile carrying a quiet admiration. The tension faded as the conversation shifted to lighter matters. He was asked how his body felt, and after a brief pause, he admitted he felt unusually light, almost better than normal. A guess was made that it might be the effect of a certain magic, and the idea lingered with a casual shrug. The mood turned playful as he nearly revealed something about his sister before stopping himself. Though the remark slipped out anyway, her light magic worked wonders. especially for relieving stiffness. A sudden impact broke the calm as a girl rushed in and collided with him. She was sent flying forward, but he quickly caught her mid-fall, steadying her before she hit the ground. She clung to him, overwhelmed with relief, tears spilling as she confessed how worried she had been. He held her gently and apologized, promising he wouldn't put himself in such danger again, while another quietly noted the toll it had taken on him. They explained they had arrived after noticing the undead suddenly stop, assuming the fight had already ended. The man reflected on the demon that had been controlling them, impressed by its strength. As the moment eased, gratitude was expressed, and a lighthearted invitation for a future trip brought a softer, more relaxed tone to the group. Tension rose as he clenched his fist, reminded of what could have happened. The mood shifted when it was suggested they were a party, bringing a smile. The moment softened further as he was praised, leaving the other caught off guard. They began gathering the remains, noting the value of the demon's body and even the usefulness of such materials. As the work continued, confusion suddenly spread when something was missing. The head had disappeared. As they questioned the missing head, a strange presence drew attention upward. A sudden flash ignited above, followed by a violent surge of energy that burst into flames, forcing everyone into alarm. From within the flames, the demon's head reappeared, speaking with calm resolve. It acknowledged defeat and praised the one who overcame it, but declared it would not fade quietly, intent on dragging them down with it. As its power surged again, a warning was shouted, but the creature only urged them to accept what was coming. The demon unleashed its final power, calling forth a force from the depths as it offered the remainder of its life. A monstrous form emerged, vast and overwhelming its presence, filling the space as it descended upon them. The creature roared as chaos erupted, its power overwhelming the chamber. A final snap cut through the noise. Then a massive explosion tore through everything, engulfing the area in destruction. The colossal Hydra emerged fully, its many heads spreading as it unleashed destruction across the land. Amid the chaos, a sudden force struck down from above, cutting through the turmoil with decisive impact. They regrouped outside, facing the massive Hydra in the distance. Realization set in that the enemy's goal had been widespread destruction, and regret followed for not finishing it earlier. He stepped forward, ordering the others to run and evacuate the town. Determined to hold the monster back, he chose to stay behind, despite their protests, forcing them to face the harsh reality of survival. The group hesitated, shaken by the decision, but his resolve didn't waver. He urged them to leave before the Hydra attacked, refusing to let everyone and the people of the city die with him. With heavy hearts, they finally turned back, beginning their retreat while he remained behind. They moved away with hesitation, asking for forgiveness as they left him behind. He remained calm, entrusting them with saving the people, a faint smile on his face. Despite the resolve, one of them tried to turn back, refusing to leave him to face it alone. Left alone, he faced the approaching Hydra, knowing his limits. He accepted he could only hold on for a few minutes, but that would be enough for the others to escape. Struggling through his injuries, he steadied his blade and prepared to fight. A memory surfaced, words of guidance from a mentor. Even when unable to stand or hold a blade, the will to keep fighting must remain. The lesson lingered, urging him to never give up and to carve that resolve into his heart. Facing the monster, he steadied himself and challenged it head-on, refusing to back down. As the tension peaked, a voice echoed across the battlefield, acknowledging his resolve. He paused, sensing something change. A weapon cut through the air, and in the next instant, a strike descended from above, crashing down between him and the advancing monster. A powerful figure burst onto the battlefield, charging straight at the Hydra. With overwhelming speed, she unleashed a series of rapid slashes, striking multiple heads in an instant and forcing the monster back. The sudden display left him stunned until he recognized her. She continued her assault without pause, unleashing another flurry of strikes that carved through the Hydra's heads. The creature roared as the blows landed, its massive body shaken by the relentless attack before crashing violently into the ground. She approached calmly as the defeated creature lay collapsed. Dismissing it as nothing more than a large beast, she showed no satisfaction, only mild disappointment at the lack of challenge. With the battle over, she extended her hand with a confident smile. Calling him home, the Swordmaster offered reassurance, her presence bringing the ordeal to a close. Relief turned into urgency as he rushed toward her, apologizing for leaving without a word. Determined not to run now that help had arrived, he was immediately stopped and questioned, his injuries making escape far from certain. The group stared in confusion at the sudden turn of events. When they returned and found him, questions arose, but before he could answer, she lifted him effortlessly, leaving everyone stunned. They scolded him for trying to sacrifice himself, the tension easing into relief. He brushed it off lightly, but the mood softened when she embraced him, apologizing for being unable to help. With determination, she vowed to grow stronger and asked him to never risk himself alone again. He agreed to the promise, calming the tension between them. But the mood shifted instantly as she sensed something off, her stance sharpening as she declared a new threat. She warned them not to draw their weapons, insisting there was no hostility and that she would explain everything. As tension lingered, recognition set in the one before them was the renowned Swordmaster. The truth came out, his identity, and their connection revealed. He asked for discretion, knowing the chaos it could cause. She confirmed it, deciding to take him home while keeping their relationship hidden for now. She formally introduced herself as his sister and asked to be entrusted with him. The others were surprised but accepted, though the mood turned awkward as his reaction revealed clear discomfort. She leaned in energetically, trying to get his attention, but he remained visibly uneasy. Without noticing, she continued excitedly, bringing up his past interest in learning sword techniques and presenting her own notes, offering to teach him step by step. The others watched, noting her enthusiasm, while he struggled to react to her overwhelming approach. Her excitement was cut off as she was scolded for underestimating him, pointing out that he had already defeated a powerful enemy. She quickly shifted tone, trying to smooth things over and urging him to come home, promising to guide him more gently. But he refused, apologizing as he chose to stay, his resolve firm despite the tension. She questioned him sharply, hurt showing through her words, as she asked if he truly disliked her guidance. He denied it, acknowledging that her teaching had helped him become stronger, but clarified his reason: he wanted to stand on his own, not keep relying on her. He admitted her strength made it easy for her to handle everything, leaving him feeling left behind. Recognizing his own frustration, he decided to stay, grow stronger on his own, and move forward with the others, instead of relying on her. She took a moment, processing his words, then stepped forward and stopped him. Accepting his decision, she agreed, but only with conditions, making it clear she wasn't letting him go so easily. She declared her first condition firmly, forbidding him from getting close to anyone without her approval and insisting he consult her if he ever considered it. The demand caught everyone off guard, leaving him confused as she prepared to state the next condition. She stated her second condition clearly: he had to land a blow on her, no matter how. Only then would she allow him to stay and keep his identity hidden. He accepted, though visibly overwhelmed by the challenge ahead. She refused to accept any vague proof of strength, insisting that facing her directly was the only way to understand his ability. He questioned the need to fight, arguing that defeating monsters should be enough, but admitted that even then, he had never managed to land a single hit on her, despite training together many times. Acknowledging that, she pressed him again: if he wanted to stay, he would have to prove himself properly and accept her condition. After a brief silence, he accepted her condition. She acknowledged his decision calmly, pointing out that landing a hit on her would be nearly impossible. As the others prepared to report back, she added one more step before leaving, setting the stage for the challenge to begin. He stepped forward and accepted the challenge directly, declaring his intent to land a blow on her. She observed the change in him, noting he no longer seemed afraid and regarded his resolve as something worth seeing through. She turned to the others and asked for a suitable place to hold the duel, preferably somewhere isolated where no one could watch. After a brief exchange, a location was suggested, and she immediately instructed that it be reserved for them. Without hesitation, she set the terms, declaring the duel would take place in 3 days, then moved on, leaving him to process what had just been decided. He accepted with determination, declaring he wouldn't lose. She responded with confidence, challenging him to reach her and prove everything he had learned during his time away. She tried again to get his attention, enthusiastically presenting her notes and offering to teach him, while he remained awkward and unresponsive. Later at the guild, the master formally thanked her for coming, and she explained she had arrived in search of him. The group's report was requested, and they were acknowledged for safely bringing Kulta back. The guildmaster reacted with concern, noting that a greater demon had infiltrated the human world and was capable of summoning a Hydra. The group listened in silence as he concluded that something serious might be unfolding on the demon side. Orders were given immediately to report the situation to headquarters, and the message was sent without delay. The guildmaster addressed them once more, praising their actions and recognizing their courage in facing danger to protect others. As the branch leader, he formally expressed his appreciation and commended them for embodying the spirit of adventurers. In response, they accepted the acknowledgement with gratitude. As the day ended, they prepared to part ways outside the guild. He mentioned he would deliver the requested materials, while plans for the next day were briefly discussed. There was a small mix-up with names, corrected with a light remark, and an invitation was extended. Though schedules differed, they agreed to meet again later. She hesitated before asking if she could stay with him for the night, explaining she had arrived suddenly and hadn't arranged a place to stay. After a brief pause, he agreed to help by asking the innkeeper. Relieved, she thanked him. Her request accepted without further issue. She suddenly suggested bathing together, acting as if it were completely natural after so long. The situation turned chaotic as another quickly intervened, rejecting the idea outright and pulling him away, while he firmly refused without hesitation. She pressed the issue, insisting he rest instead of pushing himself further, while still keeping a firm grip on the situation. He shut her down bluntly, refusing again and reminding her of their earlier tension. The mood shifted as another suggested a more practical solution, arranging a room through the guild, bringing the conversation back under control. He suggested a simple solution, offering to arrange a separate room for her so she could rest properly. After a brief pause, she reluctantly agreed, though still clearly unsettled. As they parted for the night, she reminded him of the upcoming duel, warning him to be fully prepared for what awaited. At the blacksmith's workshop, he arrived looking discouraged, doubting his chances after seeing her strength. The request was completed successfully, and the blacksmith acknowledged his work, handing over the finished sword as promised. At the workshop, the blacksmith checked his condition as usual, noting clear physical improvement and praising his progress. Despite that, he noticed something was off, sensing worry beneath the surface. When asked, he brushed it aside, acknowledging the quest went well, but the lingering concern remained. The blacksmith was stunned to hear about the duel with the Swordmaster, pressing for an explanation. He gave only a vague answer, saying it happened in the heat of the moment, avoiding details. The reaction shifted to understanding, dismissing it as youthful impulse, while he remained quietly taken aback. The blacksmith recalled his own reckless past, relating to the situation with a knowing tone. Hearing the condition of the duel, he recognized the difficulty and the urgency of landing even a single hit. After a moment, he decided to help, offering his support to prepare him for the challenge ahead. Alone, he reflected on everything that had led him there, leaving home, training, and the battles he had faced. Though others saw him as strong, his thoughts remained fixed on one doubt. He still couldn't picture himself landing even a single hit on her. Lost in thought, he was interrupted when they arrived. Seeing his condition, they were immediately shocked, reacting to the state he was in after everything that had happened. They questioned his condition and were surprised he had trained directly with her. He explained it was for the duel, and they revealed they had already been preparing as well, sparring with her to study her habits and look for any opening. Their attempt brought no results. She had no clear weaknesses, and all three of them were easily defeated. Hearing this, he realized the extent of their effort, understanding they had gone through it to help him. They began breaking down the difference in fighting styles. She explained that a pure swordsman relies only on skill with the blade, while adventurers fight more flexibly using terrain, tools, and strategy to gain an advantage. Realizing this, he understood that trying to face her in a straightforward duel might not be the only way to land a hit. He reconsidered his approach, realizing that relying only on swordsmanship would lead to defeat. Remembering he was an adventurer, he decided to use other methods, strategy, tools, and the environment to create an opening. The blacksmith burst into the room carrying a crate, drawing everyone's attention. He dropped it onto the table with a heavy thud, revealing a jumble of strange tools and weapons inside. He reached in and pulled out a small, sharp object, holding it up for them to see. It resembled a kunai, but its design was unusual. He explained that it was difficult to handle properly, but it would explode the moment it made contact. Though unstable, he believed it could deal real damage if used correctly, offering it as a practical option to overcome the gap in strength. The idea immediately caught his attention, and he recognized its potential. Holding the small weapon, he considered how it could compensate for the gap in raw strength. The girl admitted she wasn't particularly skilled with weapons like that, but she could still teach the basics. Despite her hesitation, she explained she understood the timing needed to throw them effectively and had enough experience to guide someone else. Realizing this could be the key he was missing, he turned toward her without hesitation and bowed deeply, asking for her help. His request was direct and sincere, placing his trust in her ability to teach him something that could make a difference in the upcoming duel. The knight suggested he also learn a shield technique, noting it could be useful in battle. The others quickly agreed to help, offering their skills without hesitation. He accepted but questioned why they were willing to share valuable techniques so easily, unsure if it was right to take them so freely. They reminded him that without him, they likely wouldn't have survived, making it natural for them to help in return. Each of them offered to teach what they knew, throwing techniques, bladeless combat, and defensive skills so he could improve quickly. More than that, they expressed a genuine desire to keep adventuring together, showing that their support came not just from gratitude, but from wanting him by their side. He reflected on how things had changed. Before coming to Lodja, the idea of landing even a single hit on her would have seemed impossible. Now, after everything he had experienced and the people he had met, that certainty began to shift. He quietly acknowledged the reason behind his resolve. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to stay with them and continue moving forward together as an adventurer. She adjusted her glasses, listening as they reminded him there wasn't much time left before the duel. They urged him to focus on doing his best, making it clear they wouldn't make things easy for him. Her expression tightened slightly as she took that in, the weight of the upcoming fight settling on her. Even so, there was no hesitation, only a quiet resolve building as she prepared to face him seriously.